This is EconWorks. Today, we have episode 5 of the AI versus Judge series, Mattresses, Mergers, and Vertical Power. AI wraps up season 1.
Imagine you're a federal judge.
Right.
You're sitting in your chambers and someone drops a 500-page economic report onto your desk with just like a heavy thud.
That sounds miserable.
It gets worse. It is not just text. It's completely filled with, complex data tables, dynamic pricing models, thousands of footnotes, and just incredibly dense theories about market definition and consumer behavior.
Yeah, and your job is to somehow read every single page.
Exactly. You have to find the hidden logical flaws buried in all these regression analyses and then make a ruling that could reshape an entire multi-billion-dollar industry.
Which is just a monumental, incredibly daunting human task. I mean, usually that takes months of deliberation and just armies of clerks.
Oh, what if you took that exact same towering stack of paper, fed it into an artificial intelligence, and just simply asked the AI to play judge?
I mean, it fundamentally changes how we approach high-stakes information processing.
It really does. So, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are bringing you along on a really fascinating journey into the collision of antitrust law, high-level economics, and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, we're going to look at what happens when the slow, meticulous gears of the federal justice system meet the instant analytical power of a large language model.
And we are pulling our insights today from a really compelling source. It's a blog post from EconWorks, specifically from their AI critique and antitrust series.
Yeah, episode 5.
Yeah, episode 5, FTC versus Tempur Sealy. And our mission for you today is to explore a very specific, highly consequential question. Can an AI actually spot the same logical flaws in a dense economic argument that a highly trained federal judge would?
And maybe more importantly, how does it do the math to prove it?
Exactly.
So we're going to walk you through a massive real-world legal battle. We'll break down the complex economic theories that both sides use to fight it, look at the underlying mechanics of those arguments, and then we're going to reveal exactly how the AI scored when its pretrial analysis was put to the ultimate test against the final written ruling of a federal court.
But before we get into the weeds of the mattresses and the math, we do need to set some quick ground rules.
Always a good idea.
Right. So this deep dive involves a major government regulatory body, the FTC, or Federal Trade Commission, challenging a massive corporate merger.
Yeah.
And we want to be incredibly clear with you. We are not taking any political sides on antitrust regulation here.
No, not at all.
We're also not endorsing the viewpoints of the original author of our source text. Our goal is strictly to unpack the fascinating economic, legal, and analytical facts presented in the material. We're here for the data, not the politics.
Yeah, we're treating this as a pure experiment in analytical capability.
Yeah.
We just want to see how the logic holds up under the microscope of machine learning.
Right. So let's set the scene and look at the anatomy of this merger. We have two major players. On one side, there's Tempur Sealy. They are like one of the world's absolute largest mattress manufacturers.
Huge company.
And on the other side, we have Mattress Firm, which is the nation's largest bedding retailer. So in May of 2023, Tempur Sealy announces they're going to acquire Mattress Firm.
Okay.
Fast forward to July of 2024, and the FTC sues to block the acquisition.
Right, and the FTC's argument hinges on a very specific type of business combination. This wasn't just, any merger, it was a vertical merger.
Which I want to make sure we're all visualizing what that means before we go deeper.
Yeah, it's an important distinction.
So instead of a bakery buying a rival bakery across the street, which would be a horizontal merger where you're just eliminating a direct competitor, a vertical merger is like that bakery buying the only flour mill in town.
That's a great way to put it.
You aren't buying your competitor,
Yeah.
You are buying the supply chain itself.
Exactly. You're acquiring a different level of your own ecosystem. And in antitrust law, the great fear with a vertical merger is something called vertical foreclosure.
Vertical foreclosure.
Right. In this context, if Tempur Sealy, the manufacturer, suddenly owns Mattress Firm, the retailer, the FTC's fear was that they might use their newfound retail power to essentially hide or block competing mattress manufacturers from the showroom floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking about rival brands like Kingsdown, Serta, or Simmons.
Okay, let's unpack this. How does that foreclosure actually happen on a showroom floor? It's not like they just, throw a tarp over the competitors' beds.
No, it's way more subtle than that. It happens through systemic retail manipulation.
Like what?
Well, the merged company could prioritize Tempur Sealy products in the best high-traffic store placements right near the entrance. They could dedicate their entire advertising budget exclusively to their own brands.
That makes sense.
But most critically, they could offer their floor salespeople better commissions, which are often called spiffs in the retail industry, to aggressively push Tempur Sealy beds over the rivals.
Oh, so the salespeople are literally incentivized to steer you away from a Serta?
Exactly. They could essentially leverage the retail store as a weapon to choke off the upstream competitors by starving them of foot traffic and sales momentum.
Right, but you can't just walk into a courtroom and say, well, I have a bad feeling they might do this.
Definitely not.
You need proof. You need economic evidence to show they actually have the power to pull that off.
Yeah, and in antitrust economics, the critical first step before you can prove anyone is being foreclosed or monopolized is defining the market itself.
Yeah.
You have to prove that the merged firm will actually have market power in a specific space.
Okay.
And to do that, economists use a standard, widely accepted tool called the hypothetical monopolist test, or the HMT.
Right, the HMT. I know economists use this test to look at price hikes, usually around 5%.
Yeah, exactly. 5% is the standard.
They want to see if consumers have an easy substitute. But I've always wondered how you actually apply a 5% test to something you only buy, like once a decade, like a mattress.
It is tricky.
Right. If someone raises the price of a $3,000 mattress by 5%, that's an extra $150. Does the HMT assume I'm just going to abandon the purchase entirely over that?
Well, no, the test doesn't ask if you abandon the purchase entirely. It asks if enough consumers would switch to a different product to make that price hike unprofitable for the monopolist.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, economists look at historical sales data, survey data, cross-price elasticities to answer this. So if a hypothetical monopolist controlled all the mattresses in the specific category and raised prices by 5%, would too many people switch to a different category of mattresses?
Like maybe a bed in a box from the internet.
Exactly. And if they do switch, the category isn't a true monopoly market. But if the data shows consumers just swallow the 5% hike because they feel they have no equivalent alternatives, then that defined category is a distinct, protected antitrust market.
So if the hypothetical monopolist test is the ultimate hurdle, the FTC had to figure out a way to clear it.
Right.
So where did they decide to draw the boundary for Mattress Firm? Because they didn't claim Mattress Firm had a monopoly over every place to sleep in America.
No, they drew a very specific line in the sand.
Yeah, the FTC defined the relevant antitrust market incredibly narrowly. Only premium mattresses priced at $2,000 or more.
And that $2,000 threshold is the absolute linchpin of their entire theory.
Because it shrinks the pool.
Exactly. By excluding all mattresses priced at $1,999 or lower, they shrink the denominator of the market. If the market is only mattresses over $2,000, Mattress Firm's share of that specific market suddenly looks massive and dominant.
But they still have to prove that threshold is real using the HMT.
Right.
They have to prove that if a monopolist controlled all the $2,000 plus mattresses and raised prices, consumers wouldn't just buy a $1,900 mattress instead.
Yeah, and they attempted to prove it using what economists call a natural experiment.
Which is what it exactly.
So a natural experiment is a real-world event that randomly happens to act like a controlled scientific study. It allows economists to observe actual unprompted consumer behavior rather than relying on theoretical models.
Oh, that's really useful.
It is. In this case, the FTC looked at a very specific window of time, from 2017 to 2019.
Ah, the divorce period.
Yes. During those years, Mattress Firm and Tempur Sealy had a massive commercial falling out. They completely severed their distribution relationship.
So you couldn't buy a Tempur Sealy at a Mattress Firm?
Right. Mattress Firm temporarily stopped selling Tempur Sealy mattresses entirely across all their retail locations.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because as a consumer, this logic seems a little shaky to me.
How so?
Well, if I walk into a Mattress Firm with my heart completely set on a Tempur Sealy, and the salesperson tells me, sorry, we don't carry those anymore, I'm fairly certain I would just turn around, walk out the door, take out my phone, and find a different store down the street that does sell them.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Right. How does two corporations having a temporary breakup prove that Mattress Firm has an inescapable monopoly?
Well, the FTC looked at the granular sales data from that divorce period and made a very different claim.
Okay.
When economists analyze these events, they look at zip code level transaction data, loyalty programs, and overall market volume. And the FTC argued that the data showed a massive share of customers who previously would have bought a Tempur Sealy didn't actually walk out the door.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Instead, they stayed inside the Mattress Firm store and simply bought a different expensive brand that Mattress Firm still carried.
So they just settled for whatever else was on the showroom floor.
Exactly. In economics, this dynamic is measured by something called a diversion rate or recapture rate.
Recapture it, okay.
The FTC used this data to argue that consumers shopping in that high-end $2,000 plus range are highly committed to that specific price tier and, more importantly, to that specific retail environment. Yeah, because the recapture rate was supposedly so high, the FTC argued this proved consumers have extremely limited substitutes outside that narrow segment. Therefore, the $2,000 plus segment passes the hypothetical monopolist test, forms its own distinct market, and gives Mattress Firm the theoretical power to execute a profitable vertical foreclosure.
So they build this entire theoretical fortress based on the divorce period, the $2,000 threshold, and the recapture rates.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The team at EconWorks took all of this, the FTC's expert economic report building this fortress, and the defense's expert report trying to tear it down, and fed them into an AI to do a pretrial critique.
Which is just a fascinating approach.
It is. Now, an AI doesn't just read words like a human. It has to ingest the PDFs, extract the data tables, reconstruct the underlying economic variables, and run logical stress tests across the entire document simultaneously.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Right. So when asked to evaluate these arguments using standard antitrust economics, what did the AI find?
Well, the AI completely deconstructed the FTC's argument by finding massive, glaring weaknesses in the underlying mechanics of their economic reasoning.
Yeah, and the first major issue the AI spotted was with that all-important $2,000 threshold.
That linchpin we talked about.
Right. The AI concluded that this number was chosen backwards. It's like gerrymandering a political map.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You know, you don't look at where the communities naturally live. You draw the district lines so weirdly and specifically just to ensure your preferred candidate wins the election.
Right.
The FTC's expert didn't look at natural consumer behavior to see where the market naturally separated. Instead, they picked the $2,000 mark specifically because it was the exact number that mathematically guaranteed Mattress Firm would have the highest possible market share on paper.
What's fascinating here is that the AI recognized this as a fundamental violation of how the hypothetical monopolist test is designed to function.
How so?
In a rigorous analysis, the empirical data is supposed to dictate where the market boundary lies. You look at consumer switching patterns to find the natural break in the market. You don't get to artificially gerrymander the boundary to generate the market concentration numbers you need to justify the lawsuit.
So the foundation of the $2,000 threshold is already cracking under the AI scrutiny.
Definitely.
But then the AI turned its attention to the FTC's crown jewel, the natural experiment from the 2017 to 2019 divorce. And the AI found that the data was completely irreparably contaminated.
Yeah, this is where the AI really demonstrated its ability to parse complex data logic.
What did it find?
It realized a crucial detail about the divorce event. During those 2 years, Mattress Firm didn't just pull Tempur Sealy mattresses priced over $2,000 off the floor.
Right.
They stopped selling all Tempur Sealy mattresses across every single price point, from the luxury beds down to the entry-level options.
Oh.
So the FTC took an event that affected the entire store inventory and tried to claim the data exclusively proved a theory about a highly specific, gerrymandered market over $2,000.
Exactly. Because of this sloppy grouping of the data, the AI flagged that the FTC's economic model was producing results that were literally mathematically impossible.
Wait, impossible?
Yeah, when AI ran the numbers, the FTC's model was generating combined diversion ratios that exceeded 100%.
That makes zero sense.
Run!
If 100 people walk into a store to buy a Tempur Sealy and Tempur Sealy isn't there, you can't have 110 of those people switch to a Serta. You're spontaneously generating human beings just to make the math work.
It is a theoretical impossibility. You cannot lose a customer and have them reappear as 1.2 customers buying a rival product.
That's hilarious.
And the AI caught this absurdity purely by checking the mechanical math buried deep in the report's appendices. The inputs were contaminated by the inclusion of the lower-priced beds, which broke the output of the model entirely. But the AI didn't just stop at pointing out bad inputs. It actually ran its own diagnostic stress tests.
Right.
It performed a sensitivity analysis on the FTC's assumptions about profit margins. And I want to figure out why the FTC would even make these assumptions in the first place.
Well, to prove that vertical foreclosure would actually be profitable for the newly merged company, the FTC had to build a predictive pricing model.
Okay.
And to make the complex calculus of this model solvable, They took a shortcut. They assumed that retail margins at Mattress Firm were entirely fixed.
Fixed margins.
Yeah, this means they assumed that if the wholesale cost of a mattress went up, the retail price on the showroom floor would move in rigid, mechanical lockstep.
Anyone who has ever shopped for a mattress knows that is not how it works.
Not even close.
It's one of the most flexible retail environments on earth. You walk in, there's a President's Day sale, there's a bundle discount if you buy the adjustable base, or the store manager just knocks $50 off the top to close the deal before you walk out.
Right. Real-world retailers survive on massive pricing flexibility. They use localized promotions, dynamic discounting, immediate competitive responses.
Yeah.
The FTC's model ignored this reality because modeling dynamic pricing is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
But the AI didn't just call the assumption lazy. It proved why it was fatal to the FTC's case. The AI essentially ran thousands of simulations, tweaking the retail discount rate by just 1% or 2% in its sensitivity analysis.
And what happens when you introduce just a tiny bit of real-world discounting into their model?
The FTC's entire theory of a profitable monopoly collapses.
Wow.
Yeah, the second a store manager offers a minor holiday discount, the math flips, and the foreclosure strategy becomes a massive money loser for the merged company. Because the data was contaminated and the pricing model couldn't survive contact with real-world variables, the AI ultimately sided with the defense's economic logic.
So let's look at the defense's logic because it feels a lot more grounded in how businesses actually operate.
It does. The defense argued that if Mattress Firm actually tried the FTC's nightmare scenario, if they tried to hide competing brands like Serta or Simmons and shove everyone toward Tempur Sealy, it wouldn't magically recapture all those customers.
People want choices.
Exactly. It would severely annoy consumers who want choices, damage Mattress Firm's reputation as a multi-brand retailer, and ultimately shrink their overall sales volume and total revenue.
That makes perfect sense.
The AI found this highly persuasive. A profit-maximizing company simply wouldn't pursue a foreclosure strategy that knowingly sabotages their overall platform revenue. The math just didn't support the fear.
So we have this AI sitting in a server farm somewhere, completely dismantling a multi-million-dollar government economic report in a matter of minutes.
Pretty wild.
But an AI critique is just lines of code until it hits the real world. A trial isn't a theoretical exercise. We have to ask the ultimate question. Did the AI's instant economic reasoning actually hold up in a real court of law against a human judge who had to sit through months of live testimony, cross-examinations, and legal maneuvering?
Yeah, and the contrast between the speed of the machine and the deliberate pace of the human legal system makes the outcome truly remarkable.
Okay, so what happened?
After weeks of grueling hearings, mountains of physical evidence, and millions of dollars spent on expert witnesses, the federal court handed down its decision on February 4th, 2025.
And the result?
The judge delivered a massive blow to the government. They entirely denied the FTC's request for a preliminary injunction, effectively allowing the Tempur Sealy and Mattress Firm merger to proceed. The FTC lost.
Wow. So when EconWorks put together an AI versus court scorecard to compare the AI's instant pretrial critique with the judge's final, painstakingly written opinion, it wasn't just close. It was a near-perfect match in the specific economic reasoning used to dismantle the government's case.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, let's break down exactly how the judge's logic mirrored the machine's.
Yeah, let's do it. So, just like the AI predicted, the judge ruled that the $2,000 threshold was gerrymandered to manipulate market share. The judge was actually quite pointed in their written opinion, noting that actual industry evidence and natural consumer behavior shows the premium mattress market really starts much closer to $1,000.
Right.
By arbitrarily doubling that number to $2,000, the FTC had painted a false picture of the market.
And the alignment continued right into the data analysis. Just like the AI, the court looked at the natural experiment from the 2017 to 2019 divorce period and declared the data to be contaminated and entirely unreliable for proving a monopoly in the $2,000 plus segment.
Incredible. And the final nail in the coffin? The margin assumptions.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the AI's sensitivity analysis proved, the judge explicitly rejected the FTC's assumption about fixed margins. The court noted that retail prices absolutely do not march in lockstep with wholesale prices, completely invalidating the FTC's predictive model of how profitable a foreclosure strategy would actually be.
So they matched on every major point.
Yeah. So what does this all mean? We have an AI that perfectly predicted the precise methodological flaws a federal judge would find in a highly complex antitrust case. Does this mean AI is ready to replace antitrust lawyers and PhD economists? Are the humans in the courtroom officially obsolete?
I mean, it is a very tempting conclusion to jump to, but we really have to look closely at the nuance of why the AI performed so flawlessly in this specific instance.
Okay.
The AI was highly successful here because the FTC's report contained what we would classify as textbook logical errors.
Textbook errors.
Yeah. Gerrymandering a market definition to achieve a desired outcome, or using contaminated data that mathematically results in a diversion ratio over 100%. These are fundamental structural errors.
Right.
And AI is incredibly good at applying established, standardized rules of economics to text and data sets and flagging when those rules are broken.
So it operates like an incredibly advanced spell checker for economic logic. It caught the glaring mathematical mistakes of the data world that human experts somehow missed or tried to gloss over.
That is exactly the right way to frame it. But it's also critical to remember what the AI didn't have access to and what a human judge relies on heavily.
Like what?
Well, the AI did not have access to any sealed confidential court exhibits or internal corporate emails that weren't in the public reports.
Oh, that's true.
It couldn't watch the live testimony of the expert witnesses under the pressure of cross-examination. It couldn't read the body language of the executives on the stand or weigh their personal credibility.
Right. It's operating purely on the math and the written logic. It can tell you if the equation balances, but it can't tell you if the witness sweating on the stand is lying about their corporate strategy.
Exactly. Which means the AI is best understood as a powerful complementary screening tool.
A tool, not a replacement.
Yes. It is an incredible resource for litigators trying to stress test their own arguments before trial, or for everyday readers trying to understand a dense, jargon-filled topic. It can instantly spot the obvious methodological vulnerabilities, but it is not a replacement for human judgment and the holistic evaluation of a full, messy, real-world trial.
It synthesizes the data so the humans can have a better, more focused debate. And I think for you, listening to this, the real value here is incredibly empowering.
Absolutely.
This deep dive proves that you don't need a PhD in economics to spot bad data. We live in an era of absolute information overload where we are constantly bombarded by quote-unquote expert reports, statistics, and studies that seem too complex to question.
It can be overwhelming.
Definitely. But AI is emerging as a tool that can actually democratize that complexity. It can help any of us interrogate the assumptions behind an argument, run the sensitivity analysis, and figure out if the math actually adds up, or if someone is just gerrymandering the data to win the argument.
It levels the analytical playing field in a very profound way. You no longer have to blindly trust the summary. You have a tool that can audit the work.
Right.
But looking at this case also raises a new, somewhat chilling question for the future of law and economics.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if an AI can so perfectly deconstruct the logical flaws of an opposing expert's multi-million-dollar economic report today, what happens tomorrow?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What happens when expert witnesses inevitably start using these exact same AI tools to aggressively pre-screen, optimize, and erase all the logical vulnerabilities in their own reports before they ever reach a courtroom?
They'll just scrub the flaws beforehand.
Exactly. In the high-stakes antitrust trials of the future, will human judges just be sitting on the bench helplessly watching two completely flawless AI-generated economic models stalemating each other in a perfect mathematical tie?
From a towering mountain of messy paperwork on a judge's desk to a perfect, unbreakable digital stalemate. That is definitely something to think about next time you see a headline about a major corporate merger. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Econ Works. The goal of this series is to move beyond the surface-level descriptions of how markets work and start looking at the actual architecture of competition. We'll be back soon with another look at where the law and economics meet the market. For the full technical analysis and more from this series, visit us at econworks.com. If you found today's breakdown valuable, please subscribe and share the show. It helps us keep the analysis independent. From all of us here at Econ Works, thanks for listening.